Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Max. I need another haircut. That's the big thing today is my wife gets to go. She did such a good job on haircut number 1. So now I'm like, you know what? If I can save myself $40 every time, like we're in. So she doesn't know, but she's got some work to do today.
I think everybody is on that same page. And dude, tell me a little bit, how are you feeling right now about this new NBA coming up and things you've heard? Because I know you just sent me a little burb a minute ago about maybe there were some guys who had COVID and didn't, and CNN was reporting. What did you hear?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything on that yet. That was our producer, Nick, our fearless leader who thought he heard that. But I think what he heard was that everybody's worried. Everybody's worried because you're looking at all the other sports right now. You look at Clemson football, right? They got 20 some odd players that tested positive. Now you're going to have baseball camps shut it down because they've had and you know, the one thing is you're looking at the state of Florida and what has gone on there lately, and you're saying to yourself, bubble or no bubble? How the hell are these players who, Max, the problem is these are young guys, right? These are young guys that a lot of them, we don't know what they've been doing over the last month, 2 months, where they've been, who they've been around. So when they get to the bubble, we don't know what it's going to be like. Listen, I'm losing more and more faith that this thing is going to be able to go off without major hitches every single day.
Well, the one thing you hear the commissioner saying is that, you know, once it gets started, we're not stopping. And that, to me, that's what you say. And you don't care what players are missing. You don't know who's going. That's why I think that the Celtics, for me, more than any other team, are in great shape because they're not dependent on one player. They have 5, 6. They have the deepest roster. So I think this benefits them more than the other teams.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I guess you're right. I mean, Jayson Tatum, when we left off, was such a star that it would be hard to live without that Jayson Tatum if you're going to talk about a team that's going to have a chance to win the whole thing or get to the NBA Finals. But you're right. I mean, you're right. Like, they've got great pieces. The sum of their parts is worth more than one individual player. You're not talking a Giannis, LeBron, a Kawhi, somebody of that nature. But I still think to say, hey, we're not stopping, I just don't. I think that's the right thing you say right now if you're Adam Silver. But do you really mean it, Max?
I think that, you know, in this case, maybe you do mean it because I don't think you can do anything else. And once you get started with this process, where else are you going to go? Do you say, okay, we played 8 games and then we're not going to play anymore? Some of the things that they're putting out now, to me, are crazy. Like they said, they can play a game of cards, but then they have to throw the deck away after they get through playing. Well, what happens between hands? Do you play one hand and you're looking at the cards and you're giving to somebody else? Makes no sense at all. So that's why, to me, this year, I think more than any other year, I think there should be maybe you get 2 championships if you win this year because of the complexities and the things you're going to have to go through.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's saying that there won't be an asterisk on it, whoever wins it all. I kind of disagree. I just think this is one, certainly for the next, 10 years, we're going to look at and we're going to say, hey, listen, maybe a team wasn't with a key player down the stretch in the NBA Finals if we go that far. I think it's going to be in our minds that we're going to say no matter who wins this thing, but they won it, but somebody was out. Whoever it's going to be a key piece. We're not going to have every team, full deck at the end.
Well, you didn't put San Antonio. They didn't win 3.5 championships when they won that year. That was a lockout. You just said they won multiple championships. I do agree that this year is going to be different for most any other thing. So I think you get a pass this year. I mean, whatever you get, if the NBA is able to finish and get to the finish line, I think that's really going to show kudos towards the commissioner.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I know you weren't prepared. You thought this was actually my podcast that you were jumping on as a guest.
I did.
We're gonna just go back and forth. All right, we're gonna go back and forth. I'll make life easier for you. I don't want you to do too much heavy lifting right now. Okay.
Thank you, Bob Ryan. I appreciate it. one of the things I looked at that the way this season, and we talk about the NBA, is all those ancillary pieces. LeBron has taken it yet to another level in looking like he's the leader of not just the NBA, but all sports in general. He's the godfather that everybody's looking at.
He's the leader of the free world right now, right? I mean, listen, whatever LeBron says pretty much goes. I mean, it does. Patrick Beverley's tweet was right? He said, if LeBron wants to play, we're going to play, period. And the interesting thing I felt was that LeBron wasn't on that call. I actually was able to hear a lot of that call last Friday, in which a bunch of players were vocal, whether it was Kyrie, whether it was Garrett Temple, who I think is brilliant. I actually think Garrett Temple should be the head of the NBA Players Association. He's so smart. To me, I think the problem you face right now is you've got the two vocal people are Kyrie and Dwight Howard, the two worst leaders you've had in the last 10 or 15 years in the NBA. So it's like, are people really going to follow those two guys, Max? I understand what they're trying to say. I'm all for it. I was texting with a player last night, a prominent player, about that. I was saying, tell me why you would have a bigger platform without playing. Because in my opinion, I'm thinking, well, you know what, if you play, everybody's going to be watching you. You're going to have a bigger platform. He said, well, then the headline's going to be LeBron scores 30, Kawhi scores 30, this team wins. And I said, yeah, but you can still control the narrative. You guys can really control the narrative now as much as anything. So I know there's a lot out there right now, and that's the big concern is obviously twofold, right? The health concerns, and then obviously the concerns from the players right now, which are part health and part the whole deal with trying to racism and what we can do right now to make an impact and sustain that impact and change and everything like that. And I get it, but I still think that impact can be made by playing. Am I crazy here?
No, I think you're right. I think from my standpoint that if you play, I think you put yourself in a position that you're going to have more people listening to you. Skip Bayless, they did a thing. Now? Yeah, they did a thing that I mentioned. And I said LeBron James, in my opinion, because of, and it was Shannon Sharp, because of the way he's handled things for me, he's become really the GOAT. And when I think about sports, because I think it's a combination of things, and I love Michael Jordan, but Michael's platform wasn't like, he had the platform. And everybody keeps saying, oh no, there was no social media. No, there was a commercial at that one time, and I'm not sure if you remember, but it was a thing with E.F. Hutton. And people say when E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. Well, that's what was happening with Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan spoke, everybody heard him. So he had the platform, but he didn't want to use that platform for those social issues. And I'm okay with that. But just, let's identify what happened really. And when we talk about Michael Jordan.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It's not just social media. If Michael Jordan had been around today, he wouldn't be LeBron. He just didn't have that. He didn't have that wherewithal and want to come out and use his voice to try to impact change. You can even see it now with him. I mean, he's still got it, right? I mean, he can still, what he says is still, the impact can be there. But even as an owner, I mean, he's out of sight, out of mind, right? I mean, he's never around, doesn't really want that platform, doesn't want that role where LeBron has embraced it. And I'll tell you what, Max, the first time I ever met LeBron, he was like 14. I think it was at ABCD camp. You could see it then. I mean, you could see it then.
But here's the thing I'm fascinated about LeBron. Didn't go to college. Didn't get all that formal, what we say would be education.
Yep.
But seems like just, a brilliant guy in understanding, not only basketball, but just the world around him. Has he made mistakes? Yes. But if you hear him talk, it's like, damn, did he go to Duke? Or I hear some other people going to school. I'm like, well, he don't talk as well as LeBron.
And raised by a single mother, pretty much, right? Gloria, who
did he have somebody who actually sent him to a school, or does he have tutors?
You know what the school was, Max? Max, you know what the name of the school was?
Nike.
Nike. Nike was the damn school. And listen, it paid well. It paid well. He didn't pay to go to that school. They paid him. And it worked out other than one moment, the decision. That was the only time when honestly he got bad advice by Nike to do the decision like he did. Other than that, they've given him pretty sound advice. And now he doesn't even need them.
But really, when you talk, though, people can give you advice. But for you to implement that and to use it in a correct way, or put that sentence together, or put that thought together, which is clear and precise, that is what is really good when I think about LeBron, when I see him talk.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, listen, every time he talks, it was funny. The one time, so I went this past January to seeing his son play at the Hall of Fame, that high school deal in Springfield, Mass, where a kid in the stands threw something at him. And then I went to when they played that night. You know, LeBron played the Celtics that night in Boston. And after the game,
and put it this way, I also caught a helicopter. Took a helicopter from.
He wouldn't admit it, Max. I asked him that after the game. He's like, I'm not telling you or something. I'm like, I just want to know from my own personal, like, how did you get from Springfield back here so damn quick? And, you know, so anyway, so I was talking to him after the game and you know, so I asked him, I said, I think it was like a bunch of 10-year-old boys that threw something at your son. I couldn't see it for sure, but I'm pretty sure they were on the younger end. And then he kind of went, there were a bunch of people who had left at that point. He had finished the regular interview. And then he kind of went off a little bit off the record about how pissed off he was about no matter who it was who threw something at his son. And then the kid later apologized, I guess, on a video. He was young, and I don't think he was trying to do anything mean-spirited to Bronny. But, yeah, LeBron just you know who reminds me of LeBron at the same age, in the same stage? Zion.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, super smart, just always says and does the right things. Now, Zion's got even more of an infectious personality, always smiling, always happy. And that's why some of the crap that his family's going through right now, I don't know how much you followed it, but this deal that there's an agent or a marketing woman suing him down in Carolina, and it's come out that his family was living in like a $900,000 house in Durham and paying like, $5,000 a month in rent. I hope it doesn't affect what people think of Zion at all, because that kid is special.
That to me, that's today's world. You have to pay the price to be the boss. The thing that's very interesting to me is when I look at you and I hear you talk about your relationships, personal relationships with players. I don't want you to give me a bunch of who's your favorite, but I've heard you say you had a personal relationship with Jayson Tatum. Heard you had a personal relationship with LeBron. Give me some more names that you might think like, okay, this guy's that, I have a personal relationship, just to give an inner workings of what your mind is all about and people you deal with.
I'll give you a great story. When I worked at Fox, I went down sophomore year to San Diego and interviewed Kawhi in his first national story. National story he's ever done. I'm thinking to myself, most kids that I interview, their first national story, they're excited. They're there early. They want this. They want this attention, right? I didn't know Kawhi. So I show up, and it was noon in San Diego. Go to the sports information director's office, a guy named Darren Wong, and no Kawhi at noon. No Kawhi at 12:15. No Kawhi at 12:30. Finally, Darren's looking. He's like, oh, shit. Let me call Kawhi. So he calls Kawhi, and he's like, Kawhi, where are you? I'm just down helping my cousin get his license at the Department of Motor Vehicles. I'll be there. So he shows up like 12:45, 45 minutes late, walks in like nothing, right? And goes through, and the interview was phenomenal. And it was really about his background, and his father had been killed when he was younger at a car wash, and he spoke about it, and he was no bullshit like he is now. And it just said to me right then and there, Max, that this kid is a different dude, and he has followed that blueprint all the way through to now. I spoke to him a couple months ago when they came into Boston, and he really doesn't talk. No media people bother him at all, and he didn't remember me. He didn't remember me or anything like that. It's not like I have any relationship with him. I don't think he has a relationship with any media people. But I went up to him and said, "Hey, I'm doing a story on your former coach Brian Dutcher at San Diego State. Do you have a few minutes?" I went up to him before their shoot around. No problem. Spent like 10 minutes with me. All the other writers were looking like, whoa, like he doesn't talk to any of us ever. We don't even ask him. But again, I think Kawhi talking about other people, he will do. Yeah. Kawhi talking about himself, he has no desire, none.
Wow.
I love that.
As you think about, and I've heard you talk about Jayson, I've heard you talk about LeBron, now you talk about Kawhi. You know how many people would give their left nut to just know and be able to just call these people up, and how special that is?
And I know my job, Max. Like the first interview, I don't know if you know this, first interviews I ever did, I was like 15 years old. Me and a buddy went to the Copley Marriott, and we were staking out the hotel. And we asked James Worthy and Michael Cooper if we could interview him. And they both said, yeah, call us later. I think we caught him coming back from maybe shoot around at the hotel the day before, maybe practice, whatever. And so we got back home, and we're 15, and my voice hadn't even changed at that point, Max. I sounded like a 12-year-old girl. And we get back home, and you remember the answer machines, they had the little cassette tapes in them. Yeah. So we didn't know how we were going to record the damn thing. So the only way we could do it with on the answer machine, my dad's answer machine. So we press record, and James Worthy, every 2 seconds, it's going beep, beep. And I sound like a 12-year-old girl, and we've got the dumbest questions in the history of the world written down because we didn't prepare for this. And that kind of got me hooked, Max. And I've been doing it ever since, and interviewing different sports, different levels. I mean, I think I'm the only one who can say I still cover some AAU, obviously a lot of college, a lot of NBA. And I love that you know, I can say I knew Kevin Durant when he was 14 years old and wouldn't say a damn word. And now, has he changed? Yeah, damn right he's changed.
You touch on that, and it makes me think about, did you ever freeze up with the interview? And what was the scariest interview you did? Because I'll give you mine. Mine was the first interview I did. I was actually broadcasting, and I went into the locker room with Akeem, and I played with the guy. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" "Fine." I have nothing else. I was like, I have nothing else. I mean, now it's like, you know, holding the conversation. But at that time, the thing I learned, and this is what we'll teach people as being broadcasters, to me, my biggest attribute is to make people comfortable. And what I do is I poke fun at myself. So if I tear up myself, then naturally this guy smiles and we smile, and the conversation gets easy. Give me an opportunity, give me a time that you actually froze up and you went, "Oh, I can't believe I was that dumb," other than your James Worthy interview.
So the most intimidating person I've ever met is Carl
Greg
Malone.
Popovich.
I never had an interview pop.
Okay.
Never had an interview pop. But I'll tell you this. When I got hired at ESPN, I was at CBS, and I've always been a writer. Like, I never thought, I mean, look at me. I never thought I'd be on TV, ever, right? ESPN hires me, and it was a week before Brad Stevens got hired by the Celtics. So I know Brad. Like, I've known him because I've covered him plenty. I was actually at a game his rookie year at Butler at Southern Illinois, in which they win the game on a half-court shot. And what does Brad do? Nothing. No emotion. Zero emotion.
Walks off like Brad never done. All right. Tell the other coach, nice game.
They can and wash off. I'm like, who is this dude? He looks like he's 18 years old. And like, I'd be jumping around, going crazy. Nothing. Zero. So I know Brad better than any national media person at this point. He gets hired by the Celtics. I'm like, shit, this is great. Like, I got the ultimate in here. Next thing you know, ESPN calls me, and I've been on a week. And again, I don't know if I'm going to be on TV or I'm going to be writing. I have no idea my role. We want you to go down and we want you to be on the 9 a.m. Sports Center, July 5th. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I'm not ready for this shit. Like, I got no idea. So I go down there, and Janine Edwards, I don't, you know, Janine, she's been with ESPN a long time. She actually kind of interviewed me and made me feel at ease. I was shaking. I was legitimately shaking. I'm like, I'm on Sports Center? Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I'm going to be fired. Like, there's no chance. Then I'll give you one more story that I haven't really told anybody. So I'm in Vegas for Summer League with ESPN, maybe year two or three. And it's the year LeBron is going back to Cleveland. Okay. So everybody's on like a stakeout for him, what he's going to do. Anyway, I'm doing Sports Center hits all day from Summer League, from the Thomas and Mack. And I was told by the producer that I was cleared for the next day in Vegas because Stephen A was coming in. Okay. So he was going to take my place. I'm cleared. That meant me and my boys were going to go out. We're going to have some fun, right? We're going to go out, gamble, go to a club. I know I'm too old for it, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta live like you go.
A man gotta do what a man gotta do.
Right. So I went out, got hit up pretty good. Yeah, I got hit up pretty good. And then I wake up the next morning. I won't give you all the specifics of how badly shaken I was, but I wake up the next morning in the middle of the night because I had to go to the bathroom to, Yeah, we do. Yeah, so I check my phone at about 4 or 5 in the morning, and I look at an email, and it says Stephen A. Smith has canceled. We need you on Sports Center on the 9 a.m., the noon, the 1, the 3, the 5, like all day. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm going to be fired. I'm not making it through this day. And I made it. It wasn't pretty. I remember getting there. The producer took one look at me. He knew I was going out the night before. He took one look at me. He's like, oh, man. I'm like, hey, can we cancel a few of these? He's like, no, there's really nothing we can do. You got to suck it up and do it. And I remember going on the first one and then looking at my Twitter mentions. And I remember one like vividly. It was like, looks like Vegas has got the best out of Goodman. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. But I got through it, and it wasn't pretty. But I realized after that, when I'm in Vegas now, no matter what, now I'm not with ESPN anymore. But regardless, I got to be a little more careful.
Let me ask you this then. As a broadcaster, who intimidates you? Or have you ever been intimidated?
Like I said, Karl Malone intimidated me just because Karl Malone is a man among men. Frank Thomas. I interviewed Frank Thomas when I was probably in college. He intimidated me. Not too many guys intimidate. Like, I'll go with anybody. I don't give a shit. Like, I ain't intimidated by Coach K. Pop would probably, if I had to do Pop on TV, I don't know how I would work that. I'd have some fun. Like, I'm like you. Like, make fun about yourself, which is easy for me. I can do that all day. But there's a serious side, too, because I'm a reporter. So it's that combination. You want to put people at ease. That is the number one thing for me when I'm doing an interview with anybody, especially kids. I want kids to look good. That's my goal, is to make kids look good. Like, I tried that with the 2 younger Ball brothers in Lithuania. I was sent there, and I'm trying to make those kids look good, and they don't even want to listen. They had no desire. And I said to them, like, guys, everybody back home is going to see this. All you have to do, look in the camera, smile, and give me more than a one-word answer. Okay, give me more than one word. So the middle one was the first one I went up to. They were playing their first game in Lithuania. They got off their little van, and I said, hey, LiAngelo, how does it feel to be ready to play your first professional game? Good. I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'm trying to help you here. Like, my job, I'm trying the best I can. And they didn't get it. They just didn't get it.
Okay, I'm going to go a little different here. And we normally do this on the Cedric Maxwell podcast. Give me your Mount Rushmore of sports.
Of players?
Of sports. You get 4 people. You building a Mount Rushmore in your backyard, and you're building those big monuments up. Who are those 4 people in your life? And you can't be wrong. And it's really interesting because you talk to people who are from Europe, and they'll go with soccer. You don't have to have all basketball players. You can have coaches. I don't care, but you give me your Mount Rushmore of sports.
Boy. I mean, again, being a basketball guy and a guy around here, I mean, obviously you got to have MJ on it. You have to have MJ on it to me.
Yeah, this is your mountain. We don't care. It's your mountain.
Yeah, I'd go MJ. I would go, boy. I'd probably go Tom Brady.
Okay.
And around here.
All right. You don't have to be around here, but that's fine.
Seeing it up close around here. Wayne Gretzky.
Okay.
Growing up.
Okay.
I'm not a hockey fan anymore, but my daughter's got me being a hockey fan again because she likes it. But growing up, I was a big hockey, every sport around here.
Okay.
So I would say those would be 3. Boy, oh boy.
It's always the same people who get to number 4. You'd be thinking like, oh man, I left this guy out. I left this guy. I left this guy.
Boy, I mean, I'm trying to think. Would I put like Muhammad Ali on there? I don't know. Probably not quite. So what do I got? I got a football. I had a basketball. I got a hockey. I don't know who the baseball guy would be.
You don't have to go. You can go with the same sport if you want to. I don't care. It's your Mount Rushmore. You got the contractors building in your backyard. So you got one more guy to put back there.
I'd probably go LeBron. I don't think he's done. I think he'll be on there at the end. I really do. I think he's going to win.
Yeah. I don't think you can go wrong, and that's why I always tell people when I ask them that. And mine was Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan. I went with Tiger Woods, and then I went off the board. I went with what I think is considered the greatest female athlete. I went with Serena Williams.
Great one too.
Just because who she is and what she's done, and man, she's been so dynamic. Now you think about those personalities that we talk about. You find those small things that intrigue you. You said about LeBron James' smartness. What are the other guys? Give me some more guys that you said, man, I didn't know that. He was really intriguing to me. I love the interview. When you walked away from it, it's like I did an interview with podcaster Robert Parrish. I've always loved Robert Parrish. Robert Parrish was absolutely great. He got to a line where he said, he was talking about Michael Jordan. He said, you know what, Cedric, I was just tired of all that ass kissing around Michael. He said, the only time there should be ass kissing is when you're having sex. And I just lost it. But it was just intriguing in talking to Robert Parrish like that. Give me those intriguing moments that you think about guys and go, oh man, I didn't know about him. That was good. That was good.
I mean, I think Brad is a different dude. We'll keep it to Celtics just because you know him well. Mm-hmm. And Brad is so unique. And I tell everybody this. It's almost like you want to pinch Brad and be like, are you real? Like, cut the shit. Like there's something there. You've done something wrong. Like, you can't be this good. And I even asked. I've asked.
You did jaywalk at one time in your life. You did that. I know you. And you walked by a homeless man. You didn't give him money. You can't be that real.
I feel like Brad Stevens and Tony Bennett, who coaches Virginia, are very similar. They're very similar in terms of just clean cut, can do no wrong. But there's something there, right? There's something there, underneath it all. I'm trying to think of other guys. I mean, listen, there's so many guys that I love to cover through the years. You can go on and on and on. And then, there's guys you don't like to cover them. And most of the guys that I go after, Max, are guys that treat people like shit. Okay? That's my biggest pet peeve. If you treat your staff, players like shit, and you do something that I can come after you, I'm going to come after you.
All right. You know what? You open it up then. Give me your top 5. You treated everybody like shit. You give me those top 5 guys.
Most are college guys. Some you're not going to know.
I don't really care. I want to know who those top 5 are.
Yeah. Billy Gillespie is a guy who coached at Kentucky for a couple of years, was at Texas A&M. He's still coaching at a place called Tarleton State down in Texas. And I honestly, I can't believe they hired him. It's disgusting to me because, again, how he treats people. I'd heard Tom Crean, formerly Indiana, formerly Marquette, now at Georgia, has treated some people on his staff like shit over the years, and I've called him out for it. And I will continue to call him out. Greg Marshall is a guy I'm working on a story right now, the current Wichita State head coach. They had 6 kids transfer this year, so I started doing a story on that, why kids were leaving Wichita, which has had so much success lately. Well, it turns out they're all leaving because of Greg Marshall, because of how they feel he has treated them. Those are 3 off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of other guys I've had issue. Listen, every fan base has not liked me at one point or another. Like every fan base in college. You need, like Arizona, where I went to school, I had to check in under an assumed name years ago. Kay and I have had issues. Roy and I have had issues. Calipari and I have probably talked twice in the last 12 years. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. What my biggest pet peeve is now, Max, in this industry, the people that are newsbreakers have the most information, right? The Wojs, the Shamses, in whatever sport. I feel like too many of them will sell out for that news instead of give me your opinion. Like, I think Woj has it in him to be the best damn reporter on the planet. But now he's at ESPN. He's not writing investigative shit anymore. He's just throwing out there the information that he gets, and he's trying to protect his sources. I get it. That's fine. I wish that weren't the case. I wish people would be more opinionated, the people that have the most information. Instead, Max, what do? We turn on TV and you hear, I called them out earlier this year. You hear like Stephen A. Smith talking about college basketball. I don't want to hear that. You don't know college basketball. Shut your mouth when it comes to college hoop. I want to listen to you when it comes to NBA. That's great. I want to listen to you, Max, when it comes to NBA. Do I care what you have to say about football? Not really. I don't. I'd rather listen to somebody that knows football. I want to hear that. I want to hear Teddy Bruschi tell me about football and tell me what he really thinks. I want to hear Schefter. Give me all that information that Adam Schefter has. Give me your opinion on shit. That's what I want to hear.
Well, I think guys, once they get to that level, though, it becomes safety. I don't have to stretch out, and I don't have to tell some bad news about this guy because I might not get. I'm already getting the information, and I can just play it cool now from here on in.
Yeah, I've just never been that way. That's never been the way I was taught. I was always taught, wake up and feel good about yourself, that you're getting all the information and you're going to say it the way it is. Right.
Well, I'll give you one. You said about people not liking you. The year I got traded from the Celtics in 75, whenever they're 85, I went to every NBA team, every NBA city I went to that year, I got booed. Only place I got a cheer when I got back here to Boston. I got traded to the Clippers, and when they announced my name, oh my God, all my teammates did, and I was like, bring it on. It was just all these boos and negativity that goes along with it. But I thought it was just fascinating because one thing I believe as a sports person, I look at, and that's why, again, I look at LeBron and I look at Kyrie, and I look at LeBron in a sense, and LeBron, to me, is almost too good to be true. It's just too good to be true. And I think Kyrie can't be that bad. And there has to be, something in between when you think about those players and how they operate. I did an interview with Kyrie, and we talked about, and told me a lot about what he did this week so far as basketball was concerned. I asked him a question, and my broadcast partner, Sean, wanted to shoot me down. I said, Kyrie, I'm going to ask you a question nobody's ever asked you. And Sean goes, oh, you don't have a question nobody's ever asked you. I was like, yeah, I do. I said, Kyrie, how was it the first time you beat your father playing? And he just like lit up. He was like, oh my God, the first time I ever beat him playing, I was 16 years old. I beat him 16-0. And he told me, Kai, you got to play everybody the same way. You never give a quarter. You always go with your best and go with your instincts. And then Kyrie said, I've taken that and moved forward with things in my life. And what he did this week when you talked about sitting out and all, that was Kyrie to a T in just making a point and being belligerent about that point.
Here's the problem I have. You've got Kyrie and Dwight Howard right now, the two guys who have put themselves out there saying it. Again, those are just two guys that I don't think have a lot of respect based on their inability to be great teammates and leaders.
Well, didn't Lillard say that too? Also about he was afraid to play, and you don't hear their names, but those other two names are the names that shot out more than any other.
Well, Kyrie organized the call. I heard part of that call, Max, and again, it was interesting. It was very interesting to hear some of the different. And I couldn't tell. I heard the audio, so I couldn't tell all the time who was speaking. But most of it, very little, was based on the corona fears from that call a week and a half ago. Donovan Mitchell, I could hear part of his deal was, again, some concern over if I get hurt, I'm not making $150 million. I'm up for that, and I want to make sure that I don't put myself in a situation that if something happens, I'm not making $10 million instead of $150 million.
Well, that makes sense to me. But at the same time, Kyrie wants to shoot himself in the foot by saying, okay, let's just sit out this year. And the owners get an opportunity to tear their collective bargaining agreement up and now start all over and reduce the salaries. And now those guys who were going to make those big dollars, like a Jayson Tatum, they won't make those big dollars because of the way things happen.
Yeah, and what about the guys who are making minimum money, who are just trying to keep their jobs, Max, and thinking, hey, I got a chance here to make a name for myself, and I don't want to lose a year. I don't want to lose a year of my career when I'm not making $30 million or $20 million or $10 million.
But that's the issue, though. Most people don't. When you think about NBA players and they have this guy made $1 million this year, well, his salary and his lifestyle is probably about $2 million.
Exactly.
That is living out there. So he's essentially almost living like everybody else in the world, paycheck to paycheck.
What was your lifestyle like? Like what was the most money you made in a contract, and how did you live when you got that contract? How much did everything change for you?
The most money I ever made in 1 year, I think, was about $1 million. Okay. And at that time, I was the 99th highest paid athlete in the world. World.
Really?
In 1984, in the world. And I was like, wow, that was just it. But how did I spend the money? I think that's the thing about most players. Like, there wasn't nothing that I did not want that I just didn't buy. Now, it's a different issue now when I look at the Steph Currys making $30 million a year or signing a deal with Under Armour for $250 million. And I see, and it is really like looking at the lifestyle in the rich and the famous. When I see Curry, they did a thing with him and said he had 3 or 4 different mansions that he had. One in California, another one in California, one here. It was just, the money doesn't even seem real when I think about, me playing, because I think about a guy like Draymond Green. That would have been a guy like me, finals. This man made $23 million last year.
Why not me?
Yeah, right. But so I understand the era, and I understand, the amounts, because when I played, I remember first getting in the league, and I made $90,000 my first year. $90,000 my first year with the Celtics. So you think about that as you're saying, well, you're an NBA player, you had to be making no, it was making $90,000. Then for a couple of years, they had that funny money where you might make $400,000 on paper, but it was deferred money that you'd only get $200,000. So by the time the government got to you, you getting $125,000. And so it was a really different era when you think about players and what they were making.
You brought up Steph Curry. I think he's the one guy in the NBA that if you said to me, who has not changed, who has gone from somebody that you saw when they were young and you watched their rise, Steph Curry is that one guy to me. Like KD has changed. I still love KD. I'll still back him. All the people that kill him for going to the Warriors, I'll still back him all day, every day in saying, listen, what did he do? He wanted to win. Like he took what he thought was going to be a lesser role because he wanted to play a brand of basketball, number one, that he would enjoy playing, where the ball actually moved, number one. And two, he had a chance to win titles. Like, what is wrong with that? What I don't understand the people that were like, well, he went to the enemy. He went to the team that just, who gives a shit?
Okay, well, if you say that, then why did he leave Golden State? Because you're talking about winning championships, multiple championships, and you're surrounded by pieces that are unreal. So
you know
why? Why?
I think I know. I don't know for sure, but I think I know. And I think he left to go to Golden State for the right reasons. Then he got all the negative pushback from so many people around the country. He had never dealt with that before, Max. Kevin Durant could do no wrong. Throughout his entire career, he was like the golden boy, right? Great kid, said all the right things, did all the right things. All of a sudden, he gets crucified. He's not used to it, doesn't know how to handle it. And, yeah, he changed a little bit, and he said, screw this. All right, I'm going to leave. I'm going to show some people. I'm going to show some people that I can win without these guys.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're saying it was more about ego.
I think so. Yeah, I think at the end of it.
Because if you're telling me, okay, I want to win, I'm in the perfect position, you're in the perfect position to Golden State to be one of the most dominant playing teams in the NBA.
He won titles. He won titles in Golden State. So then it's been there, done that. All right. You know how – listen, we're all like this these days. I've been at – think about the places I've been. I started at Fox, spent whatever it was, 5-6 years there. Went to CBS, spent a couple years there. Went to ESPN, spent 5 years there. Now I'm at a company called Stadium. Been there for 2 years. I think it's just the world we live in now. There aren't many guys that are going to be lifers with one organization. It just doesn't happen.
Wait. This is where you know it's kind of coming twofold. Been there, done that, but been there, done that, winning championships. That's a whole different aspect when you think about guys who played and what they're able to do. There are guys who would give their left nuts right now to say, hey, look, I'm here in Golden State and I win another championship. Yep. If I stay here, okay, I hurt my Achilles and now I'm bringing back Clay. I got the bands coming back. We got a high draft pick. We got one of the best stadiums. Our fan base is tremendous. Why am I leaving?
Yeah.
I can understand LeBron when people say, well, he left Cleveland to win. And he wanted to go to Miami. I can understand that.
I think it is ego, though. I think KD felt it and heard it so much that you can't do it without these guys. And I think he just said, you know what?
The Finals MVP, I don't give a shit one way or the other. You're the Finals MVP. It doesn't get any better than that. Only person who got shafted in the Finals MVP would have been me with the award. the stupid watch that they gave me back in 1981. I was like, this is it? Because I want to go one day. One day I'm going to have to meet LeBron and have to bring it and say, hey, you got one of these?
They'll look at you.
And I open up the box, it goes, Finals MVP. He'll go, what? That was a fascinating story, I tell you, which was funny to me. Perk was playing with Oklahoma at the time. And I went in their locker room after the game, and me and Perk used to mess around. We played cards and stuff when he was in Boston, and I always tell him he owed me some money. So I walk in the locker room, and Perk is sitting over there, and Westbrook is sitting there, and Durant are sitting beside each other. And I walk in, and I say, Perk, you owe me some damn money. And they both sit back, and they just kind of laugh. And then Perk says, I don't give a damn that you were Finals MVP. And they look like, who is this that just walked in here?
Finals MVP.
That is fascinating to me. It's just like a great story. Another one I had was with your guy, Jayson Tatum. Jayson knew me. Just kind of knew me like I was that guy, the tall guy around, broadcast and talk to him. And so that week, that was when 30 for 30 did the Celtics-Lakers rivalry. So before the game one day, I'm standing out on the court, and he's coming out to warm up. He starts yelling. He's yelling, cornbread, cornbread, cornbread. I said, dude, what's wrong with you? He said, man, I saw that 30 for 30. Damn, you a badass. And that to me, those are things that I look at and I just kind of laugh when I think about players. And you think about, your role. And now that our games have been reintroduced because of this COVID and because of all these other things, it's like people will tell me, I was at the supermarket maybe a month after COVID started, and they're running all these old games. Guy in the supermarket in the meat department says, damn, that game you played the other day, man, you were so bad. I said, that was 30 years ago.
I know. That's the beauty.
30 years ago, yeah.
Max, I think I told you this, and I know it's like you can't say this being from Boston, but my favorite player growing up, I went against my dad. My dad was the biggest Celtics fan you could find, so I went the other way. So who did I pick as my favorite player? The Boston Strangler, Andrew Toney.
Wow.
That's my guy.
He was a beast.
Right? I mean, like, for people that don't know, Andrew Toney, like his first step, his ability to score so big, so strong, could score in every which way. Absolutely. Charles Barkley told me he's the most talented player. He says this on the record. He'll say, most talented player he ever played with, Andrew Toney. How about that?
Wow.
Crazy.
Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because we have to talk about this because we would be what we call insensitive if we didn't talk about what's going on right now with Black Lives Matter. Yep. And your opinion about things and who you are, your background as a person, what you've seen, how this has impacted the NBA, how it's impacted society altogether.
So, I like what I'm seeing from people like me. I do like this, the fact that people are paying attention. Even Juneteenth, like, I didn't know much about it, Max. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't.
Well, let's thank the president, okay? He discovered that. He discovered Juneteenth. Nobody knew it until I put it out there, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just, again, out of something that was so disgusting, right, with the George Floyd murder, so disgusting, I'm hoping that this can sustain itself. I'm hoping that we can keep breeding change. And I'm trying to do it even in any way I can, right, which is my avenue is I did a podcast last week where I had a Black assistant coach from Baylor, Jerome Tang, a Black athletic director, Derek Gregg out of Tulsa, Peter Roby, who I don't know if you know, used to be the AD at Northeastern and coached at Harvard, also Black, and had a search firm guy, Eddie Fogler, who you probably know Eddie Fogler a little bit, white guy who does a ton of searches. And we talked about why there weren't more Black head coaches in college basketball. That's one way that I thought I could help, right? Help educate not only myself, but everybody else. And I think we all have to do our part in the way we can. And again, to me, listen, I grew up around basketball. I grew up around it. So some of my best friends are Black. I consider Paul Hewitt maybe my closest friend in the industry. Former Georgia Tech, former George Mason. Now he's with the Clippers as a scout.
You know what? I love what you just said then, but there's some people who will take offense to what you just said. One of my best friends are Black. Yeah. They would. I mean, I'm just telling you what people do. When they hear somebody say that, that's like, and it's a dog whistle to some Black people. When you say, I know that. I got a Black guy living in my neighborhood who lives right across the street. He's a great guy. And there are people of color who will take it. And I know you didn't mean anything by it.
No,
you put it in the right terms, but I'm just telling you how some people perceive things when they hear it.
Listen, I've probably lost 2,000 Twitter followers over the last month or so because I've been so vocal tweeting about it. About everything I can. And I think it's again, where we live, it's funny because Boston gets such a bad rap. And you and I talked about this on the podcast. It gets such a bad rap as a city, but there's way worse places around the country than Boston. To me, in terms of racism, I don't think. Now, again, I'm not living in certain part. I'm in my suburb of Boston. Okay, so I'm not claiming that but I know. I think there's a lot more people in other parts of the country that still won't buy into this, that won't believe in it. I think that's the hardest part for me, Max. It's like we hear all these fucking stories, and still there's people out there that are like, don't believe it happens. Go watch the video.
Well, that is true. I just heard the young lady, and I don't know what her name was. She was just on ESPN yesterday, and she was talking about things that happened there when she was in Boston. And now she works for
Duncan. L. Duncan. I love her. I worked with her.
She was telling a story about how her and her husband went through all these different things. And I believe what she said. But what it also puts into play is that there's a stereotype of Boston. Now, I know people looking at me go, well, you're a basketball player. So, people, and they're right. People would treat me completely different. But I come from a whole nother area living in the South where I knew and I felt and I saw racism. I had a thing that I tweeted out that I had a picture that when I was like 8 years old, I was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And there was what they called a black beach, a segregated beach. It's called Atlantic Beach. And when you went down the street, literally, from the beginning of the beach, the top of the beach where the sand starts, all the way out in the water for probably as long as a football field, there was a chain link fence, which went out in the water to separate. And you're thinking like, as an 8-year-old, I'm thinking like, Daddy, why is that chain there? And as a parent, I don't even remember my parents told me, but looking back on it, it's like, how do you even tell your child what you are seeing is, and I live this particular thing. So I don't think about it like this. So that's why I say in Boston does not have a monopoly on racism. No. That you hear a lot of people. Bob McAdoo, one of my good friends, oh, Boston's horrible. I've had some of the worst incidents in
LA. Max, how long was McAdoo even here to be able to experience it?
Yeah, but he's talking about coming into town because he came into town like most people come into town. So I just don't, I get it and I believe what she's saying, but there's another side that Boston does not hold monopoly on racial issues.
It's everywhere. We know that.
People like, oh my God, you come from Boston, you live in Boston. Oh, I've never seen black people. There's a bunch of black people in Boston. There's a bunch of people of color.
I think, Max, that the big thing is, to me, and I know within college basketball, I can speak to this a little bit more. We need the big-time white head coaches to be more vocal. We need Calipari. Popovich and Kerr have been awesome. I mean, those two, let's put them on the presidential ticket, damn it. Like I'd vote for them. I'd vote for them in a heartbeat. Like, they don't hold back. They don't give a shit. And the difference, I think, in college, part of it is
boosters.
Recruiting boosters. That's right.
Your boosters, your fan base. You can't alienate those high ticket price people who put all this money into a foundation. You can't do it.
Coach K is 71. At some point, don't you say, I don't give a shit. I'm only going to coach a couple more years anyway. Let me be me. But again,
but it's also this. If you're Coach K, do you want to open up a can of worms now at your age? Are you thinking like, well, I think I just want to open up a can of worms? No, I can ride this puppy out in the sunset. I can be like that cowboy when you see me on a horse and I'm going off in the sunset. Nobody bothered me. So why would he want to open up to something like that if you Coach K? Pop.
If you don't believe it. If you don't,
Pop's a military man. Pop's a military man. He doesn't care. He only sees one thing, right and wrong. Right.
Goes Kerr with his father obviously dying, overseas. I just, again, I'm such a big fan of Steve Kerr. Such a big fan because he doesn't give a shit. and he never has. He's always said it. Maybe it's because we're both Arizona guys. That's part of it. I don't know, but I love Steve Kerr. I love Pop for their ability to say, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit who I'm going to offend. And again, like I just think we all need to be true to ourselves and true to kind of making this country a better place. And to me, that's the biggest thing is like why the country is in such a bad spot right now. Like it's so divisive. And again, it starts at the very top. We know that, right? We know that.
Hello, somebody. Get that guy a cigar, okay? How you identify it starts at.
It does.
I think for a while, and I think this is the biggest disappointment to me. In my lifetime, I never thought I'd see a black president.
Yeah.
And when I saw Obama win and win again,
yep.
I thought for some reason we had, as in America, we had turned. We were starting not turned the corner, but we were starting to turn the corner just a little bit. Once Trump became elected, man, we whatever mileage we got, we just put that car in reverse, and we ain't stopped yet. We just backing up. It's kind of crazy to see.
It is. It's really tough, and it's tough to see him tweeting and just acting like a child. And I think again, when he does it, his base feels like they can do it. And again, it's something that listen, he can do some of the things he does for the economy. Listen, I don't even care about that shit right now. I care about our country and people being respectful to other. Like, I think that is the most important thing that we have. And it falls in line with, again, how black people are treated. That's a part of it. That's a major component to what I'm talking about in terms of the big macro picture of treat people with respect. And I think because he doesn't, then other people don't.
And that's why, to me, and I am so American, like, I don't want to live anyplace else. We got all these problems, but the simple fact that we can go out and we can protest, for the most part, peacefully, or whatever we want to do, or say things on the podcast without somebody putting us in jail or something like that. That's to me, that's what makes America great, our freedoms.
For now, we'll see if we still have that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like the whole issue about the flag, about, taking a knee and, and Drew Brees. Let me get your Drew Brees. What happened there? Who dropped the ball there? Because I was like, well, Drew, really? You had already said this, and then you did the famous Trump double down and came back and said it again?
I just
during this time, not yesterday, during this time.
Didn't you think he was smarter than that?
Oh, jeez.
Right? I mean, that's the thing. Even if you believe it, and there's, hey, we know there's a shitload of other white, I'll even say quarterbacks probably in the NFL who believe that. Certainly NFL players who believe that. But you can't say it even if you believe it right now.
You can't say it now, particularly now. What he said before about Kaepernick kneeling, and I wouldn't, but to come back at this particular time and put that same issue out there, to me, just like Drew. And I guess his apology, and everybody should be able to apologize. That's how I say it. When you say you're sorry, you're just sorry. Nothing else, but don't try to backtrack. Just say, hey, I made a mistake. I screwed up.
Right.
But a lot of people looked at it that Drew Brees was covering this up because all these sponsors, and he was supposed to be NFL. He's going to be doing Monday Night Football. And, those people had to be on the phone going, Drew, you need to get on the damn phone, and you need to do the X, Y, and Z. So maybe the timing of it doesn't even make it sound sincere.
Yeah, it actually took him longer than I thought it would. Like, to me, I would have thought within the hour, Drew Brees would have come out and said, I effed up. And it took him like the next morning. I mean, it was like almost a full day news cycle for him to, and maybe he was trying to feel like how, what words he could use and I'm sure he has a PR firm or somebody that he ran the whole thing by, because he screwed it up so badly on the first go around that you better get it exactly right. But yeah, I mean, I think it's hard these days. I think it is hard because even somebody like me, Max, like, I think you know how I feel. I think I put it on my sleeve. Like, to me, the best people should have the best jobs, regardless of your race, ethnicity, whatever. Everybody should be get along with everybody, treat people with respect, all that. But I think even I'm worried sometimes that I say the wrong thing, right? That I use the wrong word at a time, and it could come back to somebody could take it the wrong way or something.
I'm just saying, even that thing you said a minute ago when you said my best friend is black,
yes.
There are a lot of people who will listen to this and going, see, there he is, another condescending sucker over there talking about issues like this. Lastly, before I leave this podcast, I want to ask you one more question. Why has it been that the NBA has taken the lead in all these different things with the coronavirus, with its players stepping out? Why has the NBA been that league which is done, and everybody else seems like they're kind of following suit or stumbling over their tongue?
Well, I think for number one is the personalities in the NBA are strong, right? There's a lot of personalities. Think about it. As NBA players, most of these kids, guys, I always refer to them as kids because I've known them since they were young, a lot of them. But they've had the spotlight on them since they were 15, 16 years old, certainly in college, right? Where football players, half the team, you wouldn't know if they were walking down the street right now and they passed you. Baseball is a sport that is, let's face it, dying amongst the younger generation. I don't even watch baseball anymore, and I loved it. Hockey, same thing. Basketball, to me, again, who the best players are a lot of times from a young age. They've been coddled. They've had to deal with media attention at a younger age. And obviously you've got the sport being predominantly black. So I think they feel like, and they should, we can make more of an impact than any other sport. And I like that about Kyrie and Dwight Howard. I do. I like it. I don't know if my problem with Kyrie, honestly, I just always wonder his motives now. I just feel like I wonder his motives. And
I mean, is that when they say Kyrie is the smartest dumb guy you've ever met? Is that how that goes? Because
I hate to admit it.
He's so smart with what he says, and then there are times it's just like a disconnect with what's going on.
He's that one who I think feels like he's the smartest one in the room at every time. And you see it with his coaches, right? I mean, like, how do you not get along with Brad Stevens? I mean, seriously, that is the ultimate red flag, Max. If you can't get along and play for Brad Stevens, who lets Marcus Smart jack 8 or 9 threes a game,
doesn't yell. Doesn't yell at Marcus.
Never. As long as Marcus.
What kind of shot was that? Yeah, I remember Doc Rivers many times doing that. I remember one time Big Baby was coming to the bench, and Big Baby's walking back, and he goes, a fucking three. It's like it was like his emotion just came out.
Can I ask you one more before you let me go?
Sure. Yeah.
I want to hit you with the final one. All right. In 5 years, Jayson Tatum is blank the what best player in the NBA in 5 years. Where does he rank?
Jayson Tatum in the next 5 years.
It'll be like 20. What does that make him? 27?
He's in the top 10 players of the league.
I'll go further. I'll say he's in the top 3.
The only reason I say that what has to change is his ability to rebound the basketball.
Yep.
When he starts that, it's that complete game of rebounding and defending, and that's the difference between him and Tatum. I mean, him and Brown. Yeah. Brown is more dynamic when he rebounds and defends the ball. That's where he has to grow. When he grows from that perspective, he does become one of the top, in my opinion, one of the top 5 players in the NBA. If he rebounds the basketball and defends a lot better.
I think, though, you see a big difference up here with him in the last year, which has given him that confidence in the ability to finish through contact. And I think by doing that, he might go in and do a little bit more dirty work rebounds, right? I think he might feel like he can go in and get some of those boards that he just couldn't get his first couple of years in the league. But and part of it is too, listen, his role early in Boston was just to score. I mean, people forget first half of what was it, 2 years ago, all they did was stick him in the corner.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they sat him in the corner, and all he did was shoot threes. Or was that his rookie year? That was his rookie
year.
His rookie year. They just sat him in the corner, and then guys got hurt, and then he had to do more. But I think Tatum is the perfect forward for this day and age in the NBA. I think he is like the poster child, and he's way better defensively. I give him shit all the time. I'm like, you didn't guard anybody. That dude.
But, I think you're right. I think here's the thing, which I believe. He's a great kid, which I think he has to, if he's going to connect in that way, he's going to have to go to maybe Twitter more and let people know a little bit more about him, because that's just the way it is now in this world. Yep. You know he has a child, he has a young child, he's a basketball player, but you really don't know his opinions. His opinions, even now with the whole thing with the COVID and then the race and all this, I haven't heard. I heard from Brown. I heard from Smart, but I haven't heard anything that he's been on a TV screen where I heard him just say, "Hey, this, and this."
This was the most vocal I've seen him, or coming out. The strongest I've seen him was in response to Trump's tweet yesterday, where he said Fauci has nothing to do with NFL football. They're planning a very safe and controlled opening. This is Trump. However, if they don't stand for our national anthem and our great American flag, I won't be watching. Tatum responded, "Give a damn if you watch."
Ooh. Really?
So you got a little bit more respect for him after that one, right?
Let me say, you're starting to grow a set there, young man. I do appreciate it. Well, Jeff, with that, I want to thank you for joining me on the Cedric Maxwell podcast. I enjoyed it when I was on yours with you and Bob Ryan, one of my favorites, and hope you nothing but success over the next couple of years. Have a good one, my friend. Thanks for joining.
We'll see each other soon.